on to quarter analysis, and basically we get each position: quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and kicker and defense. And we break them down. We break down the top players and my notes on it, yada yada yada. We'll see how you guys will see how it goes right now. So we're gonna start off with the quarterbacks, right? The top 5 is Russell Wilson. This guy's on an MVP form right now. I won't be surprised if this guy wins the MVP this season. We have Josh Allen. Josh Allen is playing lights out. The guy runs the ball, throws the ball, he does it all. Dak Prescott, he's been like in shootouts in every game that he's played, and it helps that he has probably one of the best receiving core in the league. Of course, Patrick Mahomes, no one's surprised about that guy being in the top 5. And then we have Aaron Rodgers. I'm glad to see Aaron Rodgers up there because I projected him as a top 3 finish in fantasy football. So hopefully he can push his way to the top. It's a steep hill to climb with having Russ and Josh Allen up there and Patrick Mahomes in front of him. But hopefully he could make it up there. Excuse me. We can see a triangle. Oh God, Jesus, sorry, the mic fell right there. Technical difficulties. Sorry. We can see a trend amongst the top 5 quarterbacks, aside from Rodgers, is that they're all good with their legs, and that's what the league is transitioning to, right? Running quarterbacks, they make plays with their legs, they extend plays, they get into the end zone when they're in the red zone. We even saw quarterbacks that aren't traditional runners like Sam Darnold making big plays. So that's definitely what the league is transitioning to. I'm surprised Lamar Jackson isn't in the top 3, even top 5. He's not even in the top 5, right? I think he needs more wide receiver help on that team. It would have been great to see Antonio Brown on that team. Since he's cousins with Marquise Brown. However, even if they did have Antonio Brown, he won't be available to like week 9, I believe. Kyler Murray is making a case for himself to end up in the top 5 quarterbacks. He's currently on number 6. He's trying to sneak his way in there. He made a case as soon as he started the season by beating the 49ers. Probably one of the better values, especially because you couldn't get him. Because you could get him later in the draft. You don't have to spend that early. You'd have to spend an early freaking draft pick to get him. Deshaun Watson is not in the top 10, and he's had a rough start to the season, and his head coach just got fired, and he's been not underperforming, but he's just not making those plays that we used to. The offensive line isn't helping them either. Obviously, DeAndre Hopkins not being there is like a major blow to the offense. It's, as you can see, Kyler Murray is directly benefiting from it. Deshaun Watson still is an amazing quarterback. Don't give up on him. He might sneak his way into the top 10. He's, I think, 14, 15 right now. He's still a great quarterback. Especially if he gets a good offensive line or a better offensive line, he'll be great. I think a sneaky good value is Matt Stafford. He's in that quarterback 11. He's just a guy that's maybe available on a lot of waiver wires right now. So that's definitely what makes him a sneaky good value. He just has a big arm, and he has a good wide receiver and a good tight end. Aside from Hawkinson and Golladay, DeAndre Swift is the only other receiving threat, I believe. But even he's getting it done with those two guys. So, Stafford should be a decent start, or at least your backup quarterback. You can't go wrong with him being your backup quarterback. I think the best draft value goes to the top 3 quarterbacks: Russell Wilson, Josh Allen, and Dak Prescott. And then also I'm going to throw in a 4th one, which is Kyler Murray. And this is simply because you don't have to spend so much capital on them. You could get them after the 4th, 5th round, and these guys are putting up numbers, correct? Even Aaron Rodgers, like Mahomes is the only one that doesn't. The value is is decent, but these other guys, you could get whoever you needed in the first 1, 2, 3 rounds, and you get your quarterback points for the week. And unless you're like me, I drafted Mahomes in the first because it got auto drafted, and I wanted to pick Kamara. However, on my on your queue thing, it picks it by order of who you put on there first. And obviously Patrick Mahomes is going to be the first because he's like the number 1 ranked player. He was up there first. My signal messed up on my phone. Now auto drafted him, and I'm currently 0-4 in that league when I could have had Kamara. But, things happen. And we're moving on. Speaking of Kamara, going on to running backs. The top 5 running backs this season starts off with Kamara, who I predicted would be the running back 1 this season. So I'm glad to see him up there. Unfortunately, it had to result with a couple injuries for him to get up there. So I'm not happy about that, but I'm glad to see him up there. But it was noted in my prediction that it's because of injuries that he's up there. On top of that, though, he is having a stellar season. We have to give the man his credit where it's due. Definitely would have been a top 3 running back, even with CMC and Saquon in the picture. Going on next, we have Aaron Jones. He's continuing his tear of last season. The offense is clicking better. This is expected from second-year offense and a more comfortable running back. Third, we have Dalvin Cook. Glad to see that guy healthy. And especially because I predicted him in my top 3 running backs. I don't know if you guys remember. I had Alvin Kamara 1, Josh Jacobs 2, Dalvin Cook 3. It's looking ugly here, Josh Jacobs, but Dalvin Cook is, helping me out over here. Going on to my number 4 running back. Not my number 4. Number 4 for the season. We have Zeke, and Zeke just being Zeke. He's one of the most consistent running backs. I said this earlier. He'll be top 5 as long as he's maintains his health and maintains that O-line. He'll be top 5 for sure. And then my 5th one is a little bit of surprise. It's Chris Carson. I know it's a run-first offense. Well, it has been in previous seasons, but I think it's just surprising the way that Russell Wilson's throwing the ball this season. That's why I'm a little bit surprised to see him here in the top 5. But yeah, other than that, everyone else makes sense as to why they're there. Excuse me, let me just scroll down to my notes here. Running back is one of the worst positions that was affected by all the injuries this season, and we've noted on that before. It's a lot due to not having that off season to prepare. Clearly, we see the effects it has on running backs, players that need to get those reps in to get their body right for the season. It's the waivers are thin on running backs. A lot of teams are missing their running back 1. And also teams like the Ravens, the Pats, and the Rams aren't helping us with the running back by committee. And it sucks. Like Mariano said earlier in one of the episodes, we need an injury. It's like you don't wish injury upon somebody, but that will honestly help a lot of fantasy players. Like, we don't want anyone to get injured, but it will definitely help a lot of fantasy players. James Robinson is running back 6, and he's making a case to finish in the top 5. Honestly, this guy came out of nowhere. I didn't have him on my radar. Mariano didn't have him on his radar. If you drafted him, props to you. This is the kind of player that wins you your season. He's one of the best value picks, along with Kareem Hunt, because he's already a top 10 back, even though he was splitting time with Nick Chubb, and now that he's the running back 1, he's gonna do numbers. And then on top of that, we have Jonathan Taylor, and Jonathan Taylor would be a top 10 running back had he not had the first game. If he started the first game as the bell cow, he would be solid. He'd be top 5, maybe. Nah, top 10. We'll say top 10. He'd be a top 10 running back. But those are honestly your best values at running back. And that concludes the running back segment. So we take a sip after every segment, gotta quench my thirst. I wonder how fast it took me to drink that beer. It felt pretty fast. There's a little droplet. Going on to the wide receiver group. Distracted there. We have some interesting names here. We have Calvin Ridley, who had a dud last week, right? Listen to me, straight 0, right? Going up against the Green Bay Packers, going up against one of the best cornerbacks in Jair Alexander, right? He had a dud last week, and he is still the number 1 wide receiver. That's crazy. This boy is having a monster season. Mariano called this earlier in the season. He said he's one of the best. Did he say sleepers? I forgot. He said get the guy, right? He's scoring all the touchdowns that Julio Jones isn't scoring, right? Jesus Christ. Yeah, he's just doing amazing. This guy's amazing. Going on to the wide receiver number 2, right? Of overall wide receivers, we have DK Metcalf. And this man is just another wide receiver who is on a great offense. Well, the Falcons isn't a great offense, but he is on a great offense. He's benefiting from that. He's benefiting from Russell Wilson getting to throw the ball as much as he wants. He's just a man amongst boys, and he's taking advantage of his matchups. Not mustache. What the fuck? Coming in at wide receiver 3, we have Tyreek Hill. He's continuing to be Tyreek Hill. He's one of the best wide receivers in the league, and he's on one of the best offenses, so it makes sense that he's in the top 5 wide receivers. I saw some crazy predictions at the beginning of the season. They're like, "Oh, Tyreek Hill is he's not a top wide receiver. You shouldn't invest a pick in him." People predicting him the bust, and you guys are like outrageous, like coming from the best offense in the league with the best quarterback. What do you expect this man to do? His speed is just something else. Tyreek Hill, wide receiver number 3. And then we have our wide receiver 4 is a wide receiver that Mariano hates on frequently on this show. It's he's making him eat his words. It is Adam Thielen over there in Minnesota. Prove he doesn't need Diggs. Justin Jefferson is filling in that role for Diggs, and Thielen's continuing to eat. He's a top 4 wide receiver for a reason. Thielen's being Thielen. He's probably one of the better values too, as well, in the wide receiver class. And then last but not least, we have Odell Beckham. He snuck into this wide receiver top 5 group, but Excuse me. I think it's just his performance from last week. I honestly still do not think he ends up as a top 10 wide receiver. And he might be a candidate you might want to get off your team because he has tremendous value as of right now. I made a note on it last season that wide receiver is not a position that you necessarily have to reach for in every round. As you can see, guys like Ridley and Metcalf, they lead the way. They're number one and number two, and they're not guys you got in early rounds like 1, 2, or even 3. These guys were available way after. So make sure you get your running backs in those earlier rounds because, like seasons like this, where running back is super thin, this is where it matters. Injuries also affected the wide receiver group. I think the running backs had it worse, however. But we have big names like Chris Godwin has been hit with the injury bug. Michael Thomas, Kenny Golladay was dealing with the hammy injury, I believe. But it's a deeper class. Every year it's going to be a deeper class. Every year you're going to probably be able to get a wide receiver off the waiver. So just keep in mind, use your first 3 picks on 2 running backs. That's an honest opinion. Tried the running back 0 strategy when I accidentally auto-drafted Patrick Mahomes, and that did not work out. I am 0-4, so I don't like the running back 0 strategy. But to each their own, I'm not gonna recommend you not try it. Try it out for yourself. I have multiple leagues, so I could take the flyer on one. But yeah, I don't like the running back 0 strategy. Here at the Fantasy Experts, we don't like the running back 0 strategy. Mariano doesn't like the running back 0 strategy either. So yeah, that's that. And the best value is going to be the top 2 guys, obviously, because you're not drafting them with early draft capital, like I stated earlier. And then on top of that, my other best value is CeeDee Lamb, simply because this is a top 15 wide receiver. In PPR, he might be a top 10 wide receiver, correct? Sorry, all these rankings are for standard, not PPR. If you have specific questions about PPR, you guys could always message me. Any questions you guys have. Sorry, lost my train of thought. But yeah, this guy is a great value because he's been so productive as number 3 wide receiver on the Cowboys offense, and he's a wide receiver that you could get in rounds after like the 9th round. He's just a steal, and at best each week he'll be a flex play. But last week one of my wide receivers went down. He put up 25 points. So this guy's a monster, and he's stepping in nicely into the role. And one of those wide receivers is going to be expendable on the Dallas Cowboys offense next season. And he's going to be a wide receiver number 1 once he starts. Moving on to the top 5 tight ends. I'm going to start off with Tonyan over there in Green Bay. He had a monster performance, which this is why he's at quarterback. Damn it. Is that beer getting to me, you guys? Nah. He's at tight end number 1, right? He's not going to end up as tight end number 1 for the season. He had a great performance where he put up 3 touchdowns with Aaron Rodgers. However, he will end up in the top 10. I'll give you that much. He's just built up such a great chemistry with Aaron Rodgers. And it's especially with Devontae Adams out and Lazard out, he's going to need a target. And in the red zone, he looks Tonyan's way. So, Tonyan, great tight end. However, won't end up as tight end number 1. Going on to the second tight end, we have Travis Kelce. And that's no surprise, just like it wasn't no surprise that Tyreek Hill is in the top wide receiver. With Kittle being injured, he's probably going to end up being the tight end number 1, to be honest. And, we knew it's either going to be Kittle or Kelsey each season. Those are the top 2 guys. They're drafted in the 2nd, 3rd rounds for a reason, Next is Mark Andrews, and it's a no-brainer that he's in the top 3. We know him, Kittle, and Kelsey are going to be in the top 3, just simply because they're on great offenses and they're amazing tight ends. And this guy Andrews is like Tonyan is for Rodgers. He's Lamar's best friend in the red zone, so it makes sense as to why he's in there. Coming in at tight end number 4 is a guy he's one of my favorite tight ends. He's a young, talented tight end who we've seen flashes from, and this season is finally coming to. It's Jonnu Smith over there in Tennessee. He's finally putting it all together, and with the departure of Delanie Walker, he has a shot to show just how great he is, and he's taking advantage of it. I'm glad to see him doing great, and hopefully this whole situation with the Tennessee Titans and COVID, it doesn't affect his position in the season. Coming in at number 5 is Noah Fant. He's another young guy we saw last season who had his moments, correct. But this year he was putting it together. Unfortunately, an injury with himself and an injury with his quarterback, I think, is going to keep him out of the top 5 discussion. But, he's coming to. He was one of the highest rated tight ends coming out of the draft last season. And I think next year he for sure will be in the top 5, especially with steady quarterback play. In previous seasons, outside of Travis Kelce, Ertz, and Gronk, just recently, George Kittle, right? It's been very thin, the tight end position. Last season was I think the beginning of it stopping being thin. I used to remember I had to search week in, week out to find which tight end had the best matchup to play that week. And this season, I think it feels very deep. It's like we have a lot of tight ends. Even people this week just picked up Tonyan off the waiver wire, And this guy's a number 1 tight end, apparently. But he's not going to end up at number 1, However, he will be a great tight end. We'll end up top 10. I'll give him that. But it's very deep, and these young guys are emerging and making plays at the tight end position. It's becoming more of a receiving position, but we're always going to value our blocking tight ends. And the best value on the season is clearly Jonnu Smith, top 4 tight end that you didn't have to get in the top 3 rounds, and then Tonyan in Green Bay, simply because he picked him off the waiver wire this past week. That concludes the tight ends, right? Moving on to kickers and defense. I'm not going to talk about it a lot on this show. As kickers, I'm going to start off with kickers. I'm not going to talk a lot about kickers. I'm not going to talk a lot about kickers until maybe I'm not going to talk a lot about kickers until maybe Pat McAfee notices me in the podcast, and then we'll do it for the brand, I'll switch up. I'll give them a shout out, I'll give kickers the notoriety they deserve. But I'll touch on them lightly along with defenses. We've noted, we've made this a point before. Kickers and defenses are streamable in fantasy, so that's why there's not much emphasis when we talk about them in this show. If you have any questions, though, always feel free to contact us. We're always responding to everything. So going on to kickers, right? Starting off with the first kicker, we have Randy Bullock in Cincinnati. Joe Burrow is actually moving the ball in that offense. And they're getting him in position to score, and that's all we can say about that. He brought that new life into the offense, and, Randy Bullock is helping them. Number 2 kicker is Rodrigo Blankenship. Respect the specs. That's what the kid says. Came out of nowhere. Looks like a little nerd on the football field. But this guy is helping the Colts win games, Phillip Rivers can't punch it in, but the specs can. You dig? And kicker number 3 is Mason Crosby. And this is simply because Aaron Rodgers is getting him into the red zone, getting them in position to score. And Mason Crosby's like, all right, you got me in here. He's one of the most accurate kickers, and that's why he's a top 3 kicker, That concludes the kicking. Like I said, very quick, very short, very straight to the point, That's what she said. Going on to the final analysis of the position. We're talking about defenses here. Coming in at number 1 is the Indianapolis Colts. And this is a defense that's helping Phillip Rivers in his old age win games, correct? They're keeping him relevant. A good defense and a good running game, which they both have, helps you win games in my eyes. Didn't see this coming. Didn't have them in my top rankings as defense for the preseason, so that's definitely a surprise. Coming in at number 2 is Baltimore. Continuing, they're one of my top ranked defenses of this season. We're continuing to see their success that they've had throughout the decades. They're a defense known team, right? It helps that they have a great offense now. However, I think the departure of Earl Thomas is evident. Not too much, they're still getting it done. But, they're losing a player like Earl Thomas is definitely a big deal. Don't get it twisted. And then finally, sneaking into the top third to the top 3 is Kansas City, because of their monster performance that they had against New England on Monday. And their backup quarterbacks, that's the only reason that they're there. They are an improved defense. However, don't expect them to finish top 3 nor top 5. They have grown a lot since from the second half of last season till now. Don't get it wrong, but this season is not defense friendly. Offenses are definitely putting up huge games this season. And a lot of defenses are suffering this season. Preparation is key for defenses to be ahead of the offense, right? And we're seeing it take its toll on defenses this season. You've seen how many points are over. A lot of betting people that bet. There's been a lot of overs this season, correct? So yeah. So if you got one of these top 3 kickers or defenses, good on you. But if you don't, like we said, it's no biggie. It's streamable. If you have any questions on who to stream, holler at us. Don't stream Dallas this week. I told you this right here. Dallas is a horrific defense, even though on paper it's a good matchup. Don't stream them. Listen to me. This concludes the quarter 1 analysis, right? And that concludes both of our topics for the week. This is the Fantasy Extras Podcast, week 5, episode, I forgot, 6, episode 6, right? The episode is one more than episode 6, I'll say. Don't fact check me, I don't know, whatever. Look it up. But, I appreciate you guys keeping me here, keeping me busy, making me come back week in, week out, answering all these questions. I love playing fantasy football. So it's great to do this podcast. I like helping other people out. I like helping you guys win games, win championships. We won championships last season, so let's do it this season, It's been a pleasure, you guys. Unfortunately, Mariano isn't here. He'll be back next week, though. So if you guys miss him, I know you like him better than me, of course. But yeah, this is the Fantasy Extras out, and good luck this week, y'all.